All right, I'm here today. JP Sutton here with Dale Comstock. I appreciate you, brother, coming on and speaking with me today. I really do admire you, everything you've done in your career and everything you've accomplished. It's been a just amazing experience from what I can tell, from what I'm reading. And I welcome you to speak with me today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Excellent. We have, in case anybody doesn't know, Mr. Comstock is a Delta operator, Green Beret, U.S. Army career. Been in every combat situation from here to 1980, is it? Or
1983 Grenada to conflicts, Yemen, right up to Yemen. The only thing I didn't do was Bosnia.
Okay.
I was in position in my retirement.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. And, everybody, I think in the world kind of like researches like special forces, special operations, and always the top tier is the first ones that looked at, DevGru, and Delta. And I think one of the biggest things is what does it take to be a Delta operator? Like, what's the selection process like? What do you have to go through? And because there's not a lot of information on that community at that level, so I would love to hear your thoughts on kind of what you had to go through your career that kind of went from being airborne infantry in the 82nd all the way up until the maximum tier level there. What does that process look like, and what does it take?
Yeah. All right. So I've actually got kind of I get a little bit of blowback when I tell people this side of the story about selection, Delta selection. So it is probably the hardest selection course in the world, bar none. And the reason I ask, well, how can it be so hard? Because you see all the videos of SEALs, running down the beach, rolling around the sand, carrying logs, blah blah blah. Okay, so what? That's Ranger School. By the way, so if you look at Special Forces qualification, SFQC, there's in order to go to SFQC, it's like going to Ranger School. You have the RIP, right? The Ranger Indoctrination Program, I think it's called, right? The initial like 2 or 3 week gut check, and then you go to, it's a phased approach. Well, same thing with the Q course. Now you've got SFAS, Special Forces Assessment Selection. You got to pass that just to go to Special Forces Qualification course. But now they've actually got a pre SFAS course that you've got to pass that in order to go to SFAS. So it's 3 stages. And apparently, what they've done is they've looked at from the start of from the time you enter the pipeline to enter the pipeline, they looked at the attrition rate, and the attrition rate's actually higher for Special Forces qualification to be a Green Beret than for Navy SEALs. But talking about Delta, so let me kind of share a little bit about what I can about the selection process there. First of all, unlike any other selection course out there, to include Special Forces qualification, Navy SEALs, it's an individual effort. In other words, the selection, I'll give you an idea. So I got a letter right at my 4-year mark. I just enlisted, and I was 22, E5, and I got the letter said you're qualified to apply to try out for Delta, right? So a lot of people go, they got to send me a letter. They wanted me. No, that's not how it works. The letter meant I could go down and do the application, the 5-minute PT test, psych evaluations, background checks. There's quite a bit you have to do, and you hand the whole packet into it. They take it, and then they go through their background checks, and then they decide yes or no, this guy's going to make it. If you make it, then they send you congratulations or letter orders allowing you to come to to the assessment selection program up north. So you go through that program, and now that program is the gut check, but it's all by yourself. So you're literally going through Delta Force assessment selection by yourself. You're not going through with a group. You're not carrying logs. You're not rolling around the sand. You're not doing flutter kicks. It's day in, day out. It's just nothing but overland movement. You don't know what the time standards are. You don't know what the distances are. The only thing you get is do the best you can. Sergeant, how far do I have to go? Do the best you can. How fast? Do your best you can. It's all, and it's with a very stoic look to their face. I know that because I was a cadre as well later on. It's very scripted, and the whole idea is so that the candidate is not encouraged by the cadre or maybe what he thinks he's doing well. He's also not in any way harassed or discouraged, right? So this is why the instructors don't talk to them other than give them very short, concise orders. Your next RV is under that rock on a 5x7 card. Okay, you go type it out, write it all out on your map, you come back, you know, where you at? I'm here. Where you going? I'm going there. Have a good one. How far do I go? Have a good one. How much time? Have a good one. Like, fuck, you know, and so what happens is you put a lot of pressure on yourself because you don't know what the standard is. You don't know what the standard of performance is. You don't know how well you're doing compared to anybody else because you're not around anybody. You're literally on your own day and night through the 3 states. You travel through 3 states through the mountains. Okay. Every day, and you have no idea when it's over. None. You just every day do the best you can. Every night do the best you can. And so in my class, give you an example, my class had 110 candidates. Now this was selected Army-wide. These are the guys that qualified. I qualified so I just got my E6 stripes. I just turned 23 and I was the youngest guy ever to make it through Delta Force selection at the time. The average age was 33. I made it at 23. But all I remember is, you know, we started with 110, which was kind of a high number. It's like we had a balloon class for some reason, but I don't know why. But of the 110 that started, 6 of us completed the selection process and 3 of us got selected. Me being the youngest guy. The other 2 guys were 33 years old. Both of them were starting first class, E7s. So the program it's not just, you know, how many flutter kicks can you do and how far can you run with a log, you know, in a Zodiac 470. It was, you know, what they wanted to see is, do you have the willpower, the initiative to drive on even when your body's broken? Because your body will be broken. You will push yourself so hard that that you don't even know what's keeping you on your feet anymore. I mean, and I'll tell you what it is. It's your mindset, and it's designed to break you down physically, so that once your body's broke, then your mind breaks, right? And the only thing that's going to keep your body function is your thoughts, your brain. And that's why only so few make it, is because of the mental aspect. Now, the question is, so the thought is, well, you know, Delta Force picks the best men. Actually, no, they picked the right men. Okay, they picked the right men. I've seen guys come in and were super studs. Like, wow, you know, these guys were water walkers, you know, and never made it. Why? Because they didn't have the aptitude, the mental capacity, didn't have the drive, the initiative. They didn't have those characteristics, which are actually unknown to us, because one of the best kept secrets in the organization is which guy do they pick and why. And it's not because he can go really fast a long time over mountains with a rucksack on his back in all conditions. It actually is, does this guy have effective intelligence, and can he operate unilaterally and represent the organization? Can he go down range and get on an aircraft carrier with an admiral and stand right next to his admiral and give this guy guidance and direction, and you know, and support him, and as well as advise him on special operations capabilities, particularly as it applies to the unit. That's what they're looking for. And so therein is why it's so hard. You know, people you know, talk about how hard the Navy SEALs are. Well, let me ask you this: you'll never see a Delta Force operator try out for Navy SEALs. But you see Navy SEALs always trying out for Delta Force, because now the unit, because it is so difficult, they've opened up the recruiting blanket to all services. So they're literally recruiting for everybody. They're looking for the best candidates they can find. And because it's so difficult, they had to open it up to everybody. And so there are SEALs that have tried, there are Marines that have tried out and have made it. All right. So they're looking for the best of the best. And so it is one of the most difficult. I've been through Q course. I've been, you know, I've done a lot of stuff, and I was a LERP, you know, as an 82nd. And, you know, I was a professional athlete, you know, professional fighter, boxer and stuff. And I can tell you, man, best shape, I was in the best shape of my life because I prepared for it. And even in the best shape of my life, it just completely broke me down. Towards the end, I was like, damn, I don't know. I got a friend, my teammate, went through 2 broken legs, never told anybody. Went through 2 broken tibias, literally broke them, and muscled his way through. At the end, he finally revealed I got 2 broken legs, and I'm like, whoa. And he went to the board, did everything. They sent him to, I think, San Antonio, Texas. He actually went to a veterinarian that specialized in racehorses, many legs for racehorses, and they put a bunch of rods in his legs, put them together. And about a year later, he was healthy enough to come back, and he was on my team. So they're looking for that kind of guy, man. They're looking for a guy that ain't got no legs left and will crawl through the course. Okay.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
That's what they're looking for.
That is crazy. What's your thoughts on when it comes to the team, those guys, I imagine you guys are really close friends, almost like brothers, or really kind of our brothers, being that close bond. I know there's probably a lot of bad experiences, probably a lot of good ones too. Do you still keep in close contact with all your team members, even from, I mean, even
Yeah.
from the 82nd all the way up, or
Yeah,
just
actually,
most
some
of
of
them?
them I do. Actually, some of them I do. And you're right, man. And I always tell people, the team, that was really my family because we stayed together all day, worked all day, all nights, traveled together, fought together, slept together, died together, cried together, and you spend most of your time with your teammates more than your family, in that line of work. And so, not saying that my family wasn't close to me or wasn't meaningful, it was, but I was with really, I hate to use the word, but band of brothers, and yeah, I do keep up with a lot of them, not all, because we all, as we get older, now we're in civilian world, we've got to maintain our lives, we've got to move on and do things, and one of the things I refuse to do is define myself from the past, although everybody else does. I don't look back, and I don't, believe it or not, I look at my time in Delta Force just like being a Green Beret, just being alert, by working for OGA, being a mercenary. All of these things are nothing more than benchmarks in my life that I've already passed by, right? And I'm looking down the road for the next one. Where am I going to go next? So I very, I mean, I learned lessons from the past. There's things that I've done in the past I've learned from that help me move forward. But ultimately, I don't look back. I don't go back to any of the unit functions. I never have. I just, because I know too many people and too many soldiers that do. They're defined by who they were and not by who they are today. And so they get caught in this cycle. And I'm always amazed when I meet a lot of my teammates and my friends that they've just let themselves go physically. They're just slogging along, and they're working for somebody else. And I'm like, wow, what happened? And now I'm not saying all of them are like that, but I hate when I do see that, because it's like, man, you're a better man than that. What happened to you? But we're all human too. That's the other thing. We're human. We're vulnerable, and sometimes we have circumstances in our lives that change the course of where we're going to go. Sometimes guys can't move on because things have happened. And so they're stuck in the past because that's their either comfort zone, or they're just trapped in this nightmare they can't get out of. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no, I agree. People, I have to remember, we're all humans, right? I mean, we can put our bodies through that test and come out on the other side, the strongest survive, but your mind, going through combat so much, it will affect you. I don't care who you are. If you go through some, Nazi Germany war stuff and you're sitting there throwing bodies off of you, that's going to have an effect on you. You're not going to be the same guy, coming from that, especially when you see your friends dying and things like that. I think that's the psychological aspect is very tough. All the high level guys that I know, like yourself, very tough, hard to break guys, but I think there's an effect on the mind. Doesn't matter who you are, right? And the strongest can get over it and accept it and process it correctly. And like for me, like the first time I saw a dead body, I was in Baghdad, in Fallujah, and when I kind of see how the dead body changes over a 3 or 4 day period, how it blows up and turns green and smells and all this other stuff, and then you're like, whoa, and then some people just have a hard time processing that, they're just like, hey, oh my God, that's a human, you know, that's not how it should be. They let their like ideals of how life should be with Barney or Care Bears or some shit like that come out, and that's not how reality is. And overseas, it's like it's the real world, and I think you can agree with that, and it's a tough thing.
We tend to like you said, you look at a body, you identify with that because is that what's going to happen to me? And so yeah, it has an impact on us, and then on the other hand, sometimes you've done a bunch of bad guys and you don't think twice about it, and you don't even care what happens to them, so it really is context. Is it someone, American, someone is it a friendly, is it a woman, is it a child? That's the worst ones, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
See that part of it. In fact, you know, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I was diagnosed with severe PTSD. And I will tell you that the worst part of combat was not, you know, killing bad guys, because look, it was me or them. You know, we volunteered to do this, and I hope they enjoyed it as much as I did. You know, it's like a boxing match. You know, whoever wins. But when I see an innocent people, especially kids, and I saw the screams and the carnage, you know, inflicted on them, that's the part I had a hard time coping with, because when I saw these kids and these women, all I could think about was my kids, my family. You know, and that's where it really hit impacted me. Is what if this was my family? You know, and you and I can live with the horror of getting maimed and killed, and our friends getting killed, you know, because we all did this, we all volunteered for this, but our families didn't, and their families didn't. And so, you know, when they become the victim, that's where it gets personal for us, and that is where that for me is where the real trauma is. It's not about, you know, sleeping at night because I blew some guy's face off. I'm so what, you know, and but when I even now when I think back, you know, there was one time it reminded me, you know, I was in we were in Tikrit, and we were doing a daylight raid. Actually, I was in support of the unit. I was with the other agency, and my job was to go into this neighborhood, PID the target building with broad daylight though, and it was you know, bad village, and go in, identify this guy's compound, and then drive back out, and then picked up the organization, the unit, and then they would follow me in. I would lead them right up to the doorstep and go, it's that one right there. Well, when I drove through the first time, the streets were clear. And then I was looking for a red vehicle. And and all, you know, you remember in Baghdad, all the houses, they're just row houses, they're all buttoned up together, right? And all connected, and they all have walls, and they almost all look alike, you know. This was a long street. And I rolled out, I PID'd it, go, there's a red vehicle, I got it, went out, and I'm all dressed up like a, you know, Arab. And I actually used to look like an Arab. I used to have a beard, you know, and I did, man. I was a lot skinnier. I blended in pretty good, but you know how that goes. I get popped in that vehicle by myself. I'm done, man. So I rolled out. I said, "Follow me, boys." I bring them in, and then when I go back, the red car wasn't there, and so I was freaking out a little bit. Go, shit, and which one was it now? Because I was kind of keying off the red car, and I kind of got it right, you know. And I stopped my vehicle, and there was a little boy, maybe 2 years old, standing out there, you know, playing with his toy on the sidewalk. And all of a sudden, all the Delta guys jump out of the back of the vehicles, and they just assault the building full on, right? Broad daylight, guns going. And this little guy, man, was just coming unhinged, screaming and hollering because it was his dad who was going after him. And he was like 2 years old. And I run out, and I got my, you know, I got my SR-16 with me, and you know, and I'm trying to cover down, pull security, you know, and all I could think of, I see my son standing there crying, man, when he was 2 years old, just losing his shit. And all I could think of was do something for him, you know. And I grab him, I pick him up, I'm holding him, you know, next to me, I'm working the weapon and stuff, you know, and I'm just trying, hey, it's okay, little guy, it's okay. But those are the kind of things that affect you, you know. I think, you know, especially if you have children, or you think about your, you know, family members and brothers and sisters and stuff like that. So
No, absolutely. That's something most Americans never experience.
no, no.
You know, and they don't understand. I don't think that's a hell of a experience.
Yeah.
Dale, that's crazy. Is that one of the, what's another, I mean, is that one of your many experiences? What would you say the worst mission you had to deal with? The craziest mission, what would you think?
I've had a lot. I mean, I've done, man, I've done over 500 ops in my career. And I've done a lot, you know, and a lot of them are crazy. I don't know which one was worse, but when it relates to what is the one time that has left a lasting, indelible, traumatic impression on me, that is a hard one to shake, actually had nothing to do with combat, which is really strange. So I ended up on Discovery Channel years ago. I was one of the hosts on. There was three of us. Myself, Joe Tedeye from Dual Survival. He's a good friend of mine. In fact, he's here with me right now. And then another guy named Michael Donatelli, Green Beret Ranger, also in the unit, as I think he was an assistant ops NCO. But all three of us did a TV show called Lone Operator, and it was a really cool show. And right out in the beginning, the first few weeks, we had a tragic helicopter crash. I was supposed to be on the helicopter last minute. Mike and I switched out. And then it's 3:30 a.m. in the morning on north of Los Angeles in the desert. And I watched this helicopter crash in front of me. And it was just me and a couple of guys out there, the producers and stuff, and killed everybody on board. Mike survived initially for a while. I ran out there by myself. Everybody else just came, that was out there. I mean, these were all, cameramen. They just, young people, they just lost their shit. They didn't want to go out there, and they ran back to the base camp about half a mile away. The producer was running with me, and he's like losing his shit. He's like, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, go back. I said, get aid bags, fire extinguishers, get help, and get everybody up here. We're gonna need help. I know we are. So I go running down this ravine. It's actually in my book, American Badass. And anyway, that long story short, I found all the bodies eventually. Pilot was dead. The cameraman was dead. Mike Donatelli was actually still alive when I found him, but barely. And he passed away in my arms. And, it was just, helicopter crashes, man, when they crash like that, he fell out of the sky probably, he was probably 200, 300 feet AGL, doing about 80 knots, no lights, running black, pitch black, no NVGs. And they still don't know why the helicopter crashed. They've never been able to determine why it crashed. My suspicion is something happened to the pilot. Maybe he had a heart attack, fell forward on the yoke. I don't know. Something happened, because I watched it flying flat and stable, doing about 80 knots, getting ready to come in for a hover. And all of a sudden it just did a 45-degree nosedive into this canyon. And it was really bizarre how it went down. But anyways, I'm standing there, and the carnage was just unimaginable. I won't describe it here, but it was bad. You can imagine it was bad, right? So, but Mike was still attacked somewhat and still breathing, unconscious. And he lived for about another 4 hours. And it's not a funny story, but it's kind of a story that I share sometimes with people, because it's things happen in this world that sometimes we just can't explain. So if you can imagine, man, I'm in this desert, middle of the night, it's 27 degrees. I'm freezing my ass off because I didn't bring a jacket, because I really expected to be out there alone. It's pitch black, and I got 3 bodies laying around me. I'm still holding on to Mike in my arms, trying to hold him, trying to control the bleeding, just trying to do whatever I can with my hands just to keep him alive. And I got no help, and I don't hear any help coming. And I'm actually, at this point, I had found the pilot, and I had found Mike, and I'm missing the cameraman. And so eventually I started, yelling, hey, I need help. I got 2, I'm missing 1, I need help. Can anybody hear me? Right. And nothing, right? Just death out there, just blackness. And I had a coal miner's light on. That's the only thing I had on me. And I was, looking down at Mike, and I'm trying to hold him to his side, keep clear his airway. He's bleeding really bad. Just a lot of damage. And I was just trying to keep him stabilized as best I could. And nobody was coming. And I knew I had one more guy who's might still be alive, and I might be able to save him, right? But I don't know where he is. And so all of a sudden, from the open desert, there's nothing out there, it's black open desert, I see this woman walking towards me. I'll never forget it, man. And she walked within arm's reach of me, and she never broke pace. She didn't say a word. She was moving like she had a purpose, and walked right past me. And I'm looking at her with my cold lines. I'm like, who is that? She goes behind me probably about 15 feet, and I'm still holding Mike, and I'm trying to look around what's going on. And then I hear her gasp, right? And she turns around and walks right past me again. It goes right back out in the desert and disappears. Never says a word. In, gasp, out, gone. And I look back, and there he is. There's the other, the cameraman. So I roll Mike to his side. I kind of balance him. And I know he can't hear me, but I figured maybe if he has some consciousness, maybe he can. And I tell him, hey, I'll be right back, brother, just hang on. And I run back to find the other guy. And, it was obvious, from what I saw, that he was gone. And then I go back to Mike, and I hold on to about another 30 seconds, and he finally expires. And it was probably about a minute after that, the first EMT comes sliding into home base with his aid bag. And I'm just standing there looking around going, Jesus Christ, did this just happen? And I'm looking down at Mike thinking that should be me laying there, not him, and those are the kind of things that you don't forget. And you wake up. I woke up every day for like 2 years. That was the first thing on my mind, every day. And it took a while to kind of resolve that. work through it. And here's the other thing, man. People think that, oh, if I go to a psychologist or psychotherapist, he's going to give me all the answers and it'll be taken care of. Actually, you know what they do? Because I'm a counselor as well. What we are is a sounding board for you to vent. And actually, when you talk about it enough times, you start coming up with your own solutions and you resolve it yourself. And that's the mission, right? Get you to figure it out for yourself and accept what has happened and move on. And sometimes people need that, right? We all do it sometime at some point.
It's almost like leading them through a dark room, would you say?
Yeah,
Something like that. Do you have a lot of veterans reaching out to you for help and advice?
sometimes I do. Sometimes I get guys that are suicidal, they're contemplating it. I try to refer them to somebody and try to, get somebody to connect with them and try to help them. But it's if you're a veteran, man, it's stupid. Don't do it. You know what? Nothing's ever as bad as it first seems, and that's one of my mantras. In time, things will get better. What you got to do is deal with it, cope with it, figure it out, right? And try to bring yourself to an understanding, and know that it's not your fault. Okay, it's not your fault. So don't feel guilty. You were cast into something, as I was, because I wanted to do something for America. I thought, I looked at the soldiers. I grew up in the military life. My father was in the Army for 20 years. I grew up in that culture. It was just who I was. And I went out there, like all of us, thinking that I'm doing this for a noble reason. And the good thing is I'm actually enjoying it. I wasn't forced to do it. I volunteered to do it, And so whatever happened. And although I volunteered, I did it for a just cause. And so nobody told me, I went to Afghanistan and Iraq because I was sent there on a mission. I was doing my job, and it wasn't because I have a bloodlust or anything like that, but it just so happens I do enjoy my work. And so, like I said in the beginning, my PTSD doesn't stem from, how many dudes I shot or anything like that and killed. That was my job. The part for me that was hard to cope with was when I saw people die, get injured.
Right.
Had nothing to do with this. Even Mike,
Right.
It's like, what a tragedy. And I feel like in a lot of ways, he took my place. And so in some ways I feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Indebted, I guess, to his family. I feel like I am now obligated to live a good life and set a good example on his behalf, for his family's half, right? I don't want them to ever go, yeah, our husband died for a douchebag,
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of it's a lot of tough experiences, especially I can only imagine from where you're coming from and everything you've done. Uh, I would like to kind of, what do you think about the leadership qualities, the qualities of becoming an elite soldier? What's the difference between those guys and the average civilian? Like, not physically, obviously there's a physical portion. Like, you got to be an athlete, obviously. And then the second thing is your mindset, like as a leader. I know for me personally, I learned some of the best leadership, techniques and training ever imaginable that I could ever go through. And it's really helped me out in the civilian world, running a business, starting up businesses and things. What would you say? And I'm sure it's done the same for you. The main difference between an elite soldier, an elite operator compared to the average Joe, leadership wise and quality wise, what would you say that would be?
so I'm going to start with self-governance. Okay. Self-leadership, right? Can you lead yourself? Can you govern yourself? Can you do the right thing when nobody's looking? Can you get out of your fart sack in the morning and put your bed together? Go to the toilet, shit, shower, shave, clean up, take your vitamins, your supplements, eat properly, do your physical fitness, take care of your body, take care of your living space. Okay. And what that does is it kind of sets the precedence for the day every day. Moving as you move on throughout life, having the self-discipline to do the hard things that are required. So I do a lot of performance coaching, a lot. That's really what I enjoy doing the most, where I help people, particularly veterans, but everybody, how to be the best version of themselves. and so what happens is everybody comes to me for the most part, they don't have a purpose, because that's my first question. What is your purpose? And what do you want your legacy to be? And so think of purpose as, what is your mission? Your own mission for you in life. And of course, the standard answer is, well, I want to be a good person, help everybody. Yeah, we all want to do that. But what is the purpose for you in life? What do you want for you? Your mission. So think of purpose as mission and a compass heading, the direction you're going to travel in life. You have to set that bezel and lock it in, right? Doesn't mean you can't deviate, but you got to have a general direction. Most people don't have that. However, veterans tend to do have that, especially special operations guys, because they're self-starters. That's why they were selected. They're not looking for guys that were followers. In fact, in Delta, every guy was, regardless of rank and age, was expected to be a leader at any time, right? We should be able to act unilaterally, act as a team. And we, like I mentioned in the beginning, you should be able to stand right next to an admiral or a general officer and give him, consult him on operations or whatever requires, right? They should be able to trust you, and you should be able to motivate others to follow. So, is that an inherent trait or is that a learned trait? I would say it's both. I think those that are born with that trait are going to be more effective. And then there's those that learn it. I think it's always better when intuitively you know how to lead. It's part of your DNA. You just have this drive to be out front. I'm that guy. I've never liked to follow. In fact, I would say it is in my DNA, because on both my sides of my family, all the male men on both sides of the family are entrepreneurs. They're all self-starters, started their own businesses. Nobody works for anybody. We all are entrepreneurs. And I've always felt like that's me. I wasn't comfortable working for other people and making them rich and taking orders. And so I naturally feel like I had that drive, my leadership drive. And can you learn it? Yes, you can learn it. I think you have to just work harder at it to remember those traits and be able to apply them. And I think one is, again, self-governance, being able to discipline yourself to do what needs to be done. Moreover, secondly, is task and time management. Okay, what is it you want to do? What do you want to do today? And what do you want to do next week, next month, next year, and for the rest of your life, right? Have an agenda, have a plan. And then with that task management, that task management plan, okay, these are the things I want to do. Now come up with your timeline and set your deadline. Too many people procrastinate. Oh, I'll get to it tomorrow, next week. Let me get this out of the way first. Most niche coaches out there, will tell you, they'll use the adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So what they're telling you is, you want to get good at something, focus just on that one thing, and here's the difference between, and I'll just use my example, from the average guy out there, he's trying to eat one elephant at a time to get ahead in life. Okay. He ate, he's going to eat maybe 2 or 3 elephants his entire life. I've done 100 herds of elephants all at one time, because what I do is, I eat this elephant a little bit today, a little bit out of this one today, 2 bites out of this one, 1 bite out of this one, 3 bites out of this one. And then I keep moving that herd along down that way until I've consumed them all, hit all my goals, and I get another herd to eat, right? So you have to be able to manage your tasks, time management, and task management. You have to be able to do a lot. And there's where the self-discipline comes, right? It's easy just to do one thing. I'll give you an example. So when I was in the Army, when I was in Special Forces at Green Beret, so now I'm a full-time Green Beret team sergeant. Okay. That's a long day. Every day I'm out there training my troops and we're doing stuff, we're deploying. I was a full-time college student. I was going to college 8 hours a night or 8 hours a week, 4 hours a night, 2 nights a week. I was a husband with 3 kids. Ready for this? I was a professional boxer, boxing to fight professionally. I was a martial artist.
Wow.
Go to martial arts training. I got 2 6th-degree black belts and 1st-degree black belt. I ran a side business training bodyguards out of Mexico. They were coming up to North Carolina. And then in the evenings, okay, I was setting aside time to go out there and train these guys, train them, and then send them back down range. That's just one example of my day, right? Every day.
Geez,
okay?
how much did you sleep? How much did you sleep during that time?
Well, and see, that's it. The time management comes to play here. It's like, yeah, okay, so, okay. And then there was another issue. Was Dale Comstock, did you spend any time with your family? Well, actually, yeah, we did, because we did martial arts together as a family, right? We go to train a couple nights a week. And of course, now I'm in school full time. So, well, how do you manage going to school full time, and your homework stuff? It's like, There it is, right? So I never spent my time or my family's time studying and doing my homework. Okay, I figured, okay, so enough that I'm going to school at nights, I got to give them something too. And so I always waited until my wife and my kids went to bed. And I'd go to bed too with my wife. And I'd take care of my wife, do the man thing, right? Put her to sleep. Okay, we're good. Everybody's happy. And I'd get
That's
back
right.
up, clothes on, go back out in the kitchen, turn the kitchen light on, break the books, and I sit out there and burn midnight oil for several hours. I might only get 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep a night. You know, is that healthy? No, but I would, and you can't make up sleep either, by the way. That's a fact. You can't go out, I'll get 2 more hours tomorrow to kind of, you can never make it up. It's not how it works. So yeah, I had to put in, I had to put in the extra effort. I lost time, but the payoff at the end was worth it. Okay, now I'm self-employed. Okay, have been since I left the military, and I get to sleep all I want, when I want, get up when I want, go to bed when I want. I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I'm 59 years old. I'm not going to say I'm in the best shape of my life, but I'm in pretty damn good shape, probably better than most 20-year-olds. And so I have no issues with my health because I take care of myself. I eat properly. I exercise all my life. And so at the age of 59, I feel like, wow, I'm living the dream. I got a beautiful young wife. I got, a great life in Bali, Indonesia. I got a business there. I got a home there. I got a business and a home in Florida. I got a home in the Philippines. And, I'm living the dream,
Oh,
and
that
I'm
goes
healthy.
that goes into my next question. What that kind of goes right into the next thing, entrepreneurship. What was your challenges and what did you learn when you started your own business coming out of the service? Like what was that experience like? Like coming from an elite soldier, warrior into the entrepreneur world. Um, any difficulties there? Or and because I get that question a lot from young entrepreneurs coming out, James, how can I do this? JP, how can I do that? And you've done it, you've been successful at both. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, it was a culture shock, right? And it's because you're coming out of the military culture, which is vastly different than corporate America, any corporation, civilian life, period. Uh, Most civilians won't understand that, but if you've been in the military, particularly if you've been in a regimented type of military, like you were in the Ranger Battalion, Special Forces, when you come from particularly that MOS and you come out into the civilian world, it's like, wow, it's a night and day different. I actually sometimes I'm stunned. I'm like, how do they get anything done here in corporate America? It takes them 2 weeks to approve a memo for something like we got to buy more toilet paper for the men's room, and we knock this stuff out in 30 seconds all day long. I mean, boom, boom, boom. There's no procrastination. There's no waiting. Shelving for a couple of weeks. Let me dress it now. It's like we get on now. If we have to stay after work and all night to do it, that's what we do. It doesn't work like that in corporate America. Huge difference, man. And so it is a culture shock. And and honestly, I've never the only reason I can assimilate is because I can camouflage myself. I can blend in, but I'm still operating as a Delta operator, as a veteran, with a military mindset, and I'm years ahead of my peer group in the civilian world, because I just kind of look like them, kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, but I'm moving with the herd in the middle of it, and so that's what I have learned how to do. And then the other side of that is, I found that my military training, okay, has paid off in huge dividends, okay, in the corporate world. What guys don't realize, and girls in the military, is you have skill sets that you don't even know you have. For example, so right when I started retired, I started my company, and I just hadn't gotten it off the ground yet. I'm waiting for that moment, and I needed to get a job, and so to feed my family because I'm crossing over from retirement. So I ended up getting a job. I won't name the plant, but it's a large glass factory and Fortune 250 company, very big. They hired me to be basically to run the plant every 24 hours. I was a superintendent, and I started off as supervisor when they grew me to be the superintendent. But being in this world, so I show up and I'm looking at, for example, all the managers before me. I'm going through the computer system, looking at the documentation. For example, the evaluation reports for, their employees and their evaluation reports. I still remember it went something like this. John Doe comes to work every day on time. And like, that's an excellent bullet, right? Like, yeah, he's great. He comes to work every day on time. I'm like, that's what John Doe's supposed to do. In fact, his ass should be here at least 10 minutes early. And if he's here 10 minutes early, he's 10 minutes late, right? So, and I'm like, wow. And so next thing I found is like, oh, I have an opportunity here. I rewrote the entire evaluation report system for this factory, right? And so, I modeled it after the NCOER format, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I'm a water walker. I'm like years ahead of all the other supervisors, right? And then, okay. And so now, for example, my company in Indonesia, I say it's my company. My wife and I started the company, and basically I handed it all off to her. She runs it now because I'm the kind of guy, I start something and I get bored and I got to go do something else. I'm always looking for another challenge. So I created this thing with her. I trained her. She runs it, very successfully. And I'm like, okay, I want to do something else now. But what we had is this. It's a security company. We have security guards, and we also have we're called canine security. So I provide explosive detector dogs, narcotic detector dogs, patrol attack dogs for all the Marriott properties and the local venues and other hotels in Bali. So we have literally teams assigned to every venue. We have kennels already there. We have teams, that's their site. They work 24/7, 365. And they're spread all over the place. So we had, one time we had 65 handlers and 45 canines working right now. And so now you've got to come up with a duty roster, right? For, shift work, because they're working, 24-hour shifts around the clock. And they need days off, and you got guys that don't show up. You need to feel, so how do you manage that? Well, guess what the military teaches you? Doing a DA6, fucking duty roster, right? It teaches you have to do it, right?
That's right.
Oh man, that's big medicine. Like, I got this figured out. Actually, I still don't really have it figured out. I'm not that good at it, but my wife can do it, and the supervisor I hired, he's doing it. And so that skill set is invaluable, right? It's essential to run this business properly.
Take an initiative. Yeah, take the initiative.
Yeah, speaking of leadership, so when we started this business, I told my wife literally did not know how to turn on a computer 5 years ago because she never had a need for it. And so now she's running a MacBook Pro, Excel sheets, everything. As I trained her, she was the nucleus. I trained her, and we started training the trainers and the supervisors. And then, my wife trains the canines. She trains the handlers, train the canines, trains the trainers, train canines. She does all aspects of it too, the licensing, payroll, everything. And the first thing I told her when we started this business, I said, there's two rules. I said, every man gets paid on time, every time, no exception, ever, right? 2, they screw up. I said, you don't chop their head off day 1. I said, they screw up, you counsel them. Show them where their error of the ways, let's take corrective action. 2, they do it again, we punish them, we take some money, but they get to keep the job. 3, they do it again, we cut their head off. All right, so I said, that's the approach, because that is not the approach they use over there. They don't pay them on time ever. Nobody does. Okay, that's a big problem. 2, you screw up, get your head chopped off the first day, no matter what it is. And so I said, we'll never have that here. And so we actually had good morale, and we had a pretty effective organization. So, these are leadership traits that I brought in because I learned those in the military, and they work. Right? Treat everybody with dignity and respect, not yell and holler and treat them like dogs, which is typical, especially in third world countries. The other thing was kind of cool is, so my wife is only 5 feet tall. She's 90 pounds, little Indonesian woman, kind of in a male dominated society, kind of like in Central South America. And suddenly she's running 65 dudes and 45 hard-hitting canines. Okay. And she's the boss. They call her Boss Canine. In fact, the police, everybody knows my wife. They
That's
call her
awesome.
That's
awesome.
Like, wow, there's a canine company. She's running these dudes too, but she's able to do that because she listened. And I was able to teach her those leadership principles that I thought were necessary to run an organization like this that's fluid, okay, and constantly operating. We don't close the doors at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 24/7, which means phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, complaints, issues, emergencies, and this is part of the business. This is the cost of running your own business. And if you're a veteran, there's absolutely no reason why you can't do this. You've got all the skill sets. You just probably don't even realize it. Everybody buys into the notion you got to have an MBA, and all this formal education.
That's right.
Couldn't be further from the truth, man.
That's right.
You know, you've already got the education. The U.S. military is the best college in the world if you pay attention.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I tell the vets coming out. You guys got a leg up already coming into the private sector, because you guys got skills you don't realize you have, and I think that's a big piece, like as you're saying, guys coming out looking at how to make money. Maybe they're retired, maybe they just served one term, and they went to the Army or the Navy or whatever to get college money, went to school, and now they're looking, for what's the next step. And I get a lot of those questions as well. What's your thoughts on when it comes to performance coaching? I know you've managed a lot of elite private business guys, a lot of those guys, the high end guys, those multimillionaires, even billionaires probably. What do you normally see through those guys? What are they missing, do you think? Is it the military piece, or is there something in common that they're all kind of like missing in your mind? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah. So you're right. I've coached a lot of wealthy people. I've never been in the military, millionaires, doctors, educators, entrepreneurs, veterans, law enforcement. It goes on and on. But so the non-veteran, non-military types that come to me, even though they're successful, they come to me because they feel like they're still missing something. And so, in fact, I will tell you this: people that are very rich have the same problems the poor people do. The only difference is the rich people's problems are proportionate to their bank account. So they're just bigger all the time, but they still got the same stress and the same drama. So they have coping issues as well. How do I cope with this stuff? Just like everybody else, the guy that doesn't have any money, he's coping with, I don't have any money. Life is tough. The guy that has all the money, you would think his life is easy. A lot of times it's just as tough. And so I'll give you an example. I won't mention the name or anything like that, but I had a guy, very wealthy, built a house out on the ocean on stilts in Bocas del Toro off the coast of Panama. I'm sure you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah, I know Bocas. Yeah, absolutely.
And this thing was amazing, man. He built it on stilts out in the bay. I mean, you had to take a small boat, and it took us about 30 minutes just to get out to the island to where his house was, and there was no other houses out there. And so he was custom building his home by himself. He was bringing in materials from everywhere, to include Colombia. He was bringing materials in. Anyways, so he's got this whole thing built, and he calls me one day, and he's just losing his shit. And I'm in Indonesia now. He's like, dude, I got a problem. Can you come here and talk to me? I need to talk to someone. I'm like, damn, okay. Why don't you just go down to freaking Bocas del Toro and pick up a hooker or something? You need to talk to somebody, right? It's like, no, I got man, and so I fly 52 hours, planes, trains, and automobiles, man. I go through China, and I end up finally going through Miami into Panama City, Panama. I get there around 5:30 in the afternoon. Now I still got to get to Bocas del Toro. There's no flights going in. They're all booked up for the next couple of weeks, right? They just got these little, grasshoppers to go in there. And so I had to catch a 12-hour bus ride just to get to Bocas del Toro. So I'm riding on a bus all night. You know what it's like in Panama, right?
Oh, it's nuts, man. It's nuts riding that bus up there.
I show up in the morning, and I'm at another launch point for a boat. So I take another boat across to the island. I get over there, and it's probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. And my friend shows up. He lands his boat, gets out, meets me, and go eat some breakfast. And and I'm smoked. I actually got the flu too, and I'm just wore out, man, from all the travel. And he's like, he kind of give me an orientation. So I look at him and go, man, I said, this better be good.
Better be, goddammit.
What's going on here, man? What can I help you with? And let me caveat there with, I'm not a psychologist, okay? So we get on this boat, and we drive out to his place, and it's pretty amazing, man. Like, wow, you live out here. It's so cool and isolated. Oh my God, the only neighbors he had were the Indians, the local Mesquite Indians and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Coming and stealing all his gas and stuff, and anyways. And so I said, what's the problem, man? What's going on? He goes, I bought this $2,000 boat lift because You don't have a garage. The boat park, you park in the ocean, lift up out of the water because that's where his house is, out in the ocean, right? Which is kind of cool. And he goes, and I bought a $2,000 boat lift from Ace Hardware in the US. I had it shipped to me and arrived because I have this guy that's been doing the work around the house. I gave him the boat lift. He's supposed to put it in. He hasn't put it in months. I kept getting on him, and then he wouldn't put it in. He said, I want money. It's not true. I paid him all the money. And finally, he put the boat lift in, but it wasn't my boat lift. It was a local boat lift. It wasn't a $2,000 Ace Hardware boat lift. And he puts it in, and he's mad because it's not the one he bought. And he's losing his mind over this thing. He's like, I can't believe this guy would do this to me. And where's my boat? This is $2,000. Is this one working? Yeah, it's working. It's not the one though. And I'm like, dude, you're a multi-millionaire. So, and you flew me around the world for a 2,000 damn boat lift. I would have just sent you the money for another one or something.
Jesus, he calls it Delta.
Yeah, and I've actually done that more than once. Right? And so, and I said, man, this is what worries you, a $2,000 boat lift. I mean, that's like 2 cents for the average person. And so and I've had billionaire business partners, literally partners who are billionaires. I've worked for billionaires, millionaires. I've been able to look behind the curtain, and I've seen what goes on, and it's not what we all think it is. Tend to think.
What's going on behind that curtain? What's up?
Well, it's like I said, they have the same issues, at least everybody I've worked with, same personal issues. A lot of them have, just issues coping, right, in life. So you would think, well, how's it so hard to cope when you have so much money? It was John Wayne that said, it's easier to cry inside of a Mercedes than on a bicycle, right? But you're still crying no matter where you're at, right? And it's kind of the same thing. And so money doesn't make you happy. I'll tell you that right now, money doesn't make you happy. I look at, like, for example, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, a lot of these very wealthy people, and they're linear niche, performance coaches, mentors, instructors. They got really good. They ate one elephant, right, and they were successful. But their metrics for success is measured in money. And I can tell you, money doesn't make you happy. It might make your life a little bit easier, but it doesn't make you happy. And in fact, I always joke and tell all my clients that Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone, they're laying in bed every night looking at each other like this, going, I wonder what it'd be like to be Dale Comstock, because they'll never buy or get my experience ever. I'm the richest man in the world if I use experience as the metrics, right? I can always get money if I want that. I don't want that. It's that I want money to be comfortable. I don't want to be like these guys so rich that actually they're so rich. All these guys I know, they have everything they want. That's no longer because they want more. It actually becomes a competition against the guy over here who can now make more money. All right. So it becomes a lust for power.
Yeah.
And you use money as a metrics to measure that. Right. And I watch these guys do that, millionaires and billionaires, and they have a miserable life. They don't get the look. I've gone out. I had one client, man, he had this yacht that would just blow your mind. It was amazing, man. It's like, wow. And they would take it out like once every 2 months for about 4 hours. And they'd go out and splash around in the water and then get on the boat. And then we'd go dock at some place and go eat at a restaurant. And his crew would take the boat and park for another couple months. I go, okay, you spent how much money on this damn boat? And then the thing was, they couldn't enjoy being around other people because they always felt like they're being targeted. Right. So, for example, his wife was very young. She was 32 years old. She was a model from Mexico. He's an old Chinese guy. Let you interpret that any way you want.
Right on.
Like to party, go out and have fun. So we'd go to clubs and bars together, and he couldn't dance, right? He just didn't have the groove. But she did, and I would have to go out there and guard her while she's dancing, just to keep all the other guys off of her, right? And then I would have to guard old man because he's a little frail Asian guy, and he was getting bullied and stuff. So I'm like, just so they can kind of have a little semblance of fun, which really couldn't have been fun. How's that fun? I'm hovering around her like, like get back, like a linebacker,
Exactly.
And so, anyways, where I'm going with all this is, got to what makes people happy. It's been my experience that it's not the money. Money makes life better. Yeah, it's cool. But what makes life great is experience. How much have you achieved? Have you hit all your life's goals? Here's a interesting thing. There's some surveys that have been done. One of them, they surveyed people around my age. Okay, I'm pushing 59, and the question was asked, what is the greatest regret in your life thus far? 76% surveyed said they regret having not lived a life fulfilled. In other words, they didn't do all the things they would have liked to have done. Skydiving, scuba diving, spend more time with the kids, the family. You know, I always tell people to have a threesome or foursome, whatever your fantasies are, right? They always had that regret. And then there was another survey where they asked people literally in their last weeks of life, you know, what's your biggest regret? Almost 98% surveyed said the same thing. I didn't live a life fulfilled. And they didn't live a life fulfilled because they were so focused on, you know, I got to put a roof over their head, put food on the table, send the kids to college. And when the kids are gone, the wife doesn't talk to you anymore, or the husband doesn't talk to you anymore. And you're just kind of sitting on your ass going, you know, I'm fat, I'm a dude, and I'm 9 months pregnant, you know, and they look at me, you know, and they go, Jesus, how did you do that? And it's because you let yourself get swallowed up and you get caught in this trap because there's these expectations that are set very early, unwittingly. Our parents, our friends, the media, our teachers, you know, everybody tells us that we have to live a certain life a certain way and follow a certain track. Happiness is found if you have a college degree, right? And all these things, right? And we buy into this lie unwittingly. And if you're lucky, at some point before you die, you realize, oh shit, that's bullshit. And so you catch on, and those are the people that come to me. These are my clients are between 45 and 59, mostly males, but women as well. That demographic, and they're always coming to me with the same thing. Hey, kids are gone, went to college, wife, you know, she doesn't want to talk to me anymore, doesn't want to have sex, you know, we're just kind of, you know, doing nothing. And I'm 45 years old. And how do I recover my life? And so now they've got this, good for them, because they identified what's going on and they didn't let their lives languish, you know, into the sunset and they die unfulfilled. So they have a chance to take corrective action. We all do. You have to reinvent yourself. Literally, I reinvent myself probably every 3-4 years. I notice metabolism changes. I take a hard look at myself in the mirror. I look at my behavior and say, what can I do? Modify myself, make myself better, so that I'm living an optimal life. And so, you know, that's the key. You have to have that self-awareness. But at the end of the day, you know, again, you really are, you know, the captain of your ship, the master of your destiny, right? So, you know, if you put yourself in a box and you follow the herd, expect to have a mediocre life. If you want to, I saw a t-shirt in Hong Kong one time. I was in the subway a few years ago. And the guy had a shirt that said, on the back of it, it said, you can work for somebody else and make them rich, or you can work for yourself and make yourself rich. It's a choice, right? And I thought, you know, that's pretty profound, because that's what most people are doing in America. They're working to make other people rich because they're thinking small. They're thinking, I got to make a paycheck, you know, I got to pay for my bills, my house, you know, and that's it, right? It's like, if I can do that, I'm a success. Man, all you're doing is surviving, right? They have a survivor mentality.
That's right.
Thriver mentality. In other words, you got to go, man, this is small time. I'm going to have all this and more because I can and I will, right? And so too many people, they live a limited life. You have to live a limited life. And this is where veterans excel, because you've been exposed to so much in your life. You've been challenged so many times. You've endured so much. You made friends with people very diverse. You know, that's the other thing, man. The military is very diverse. I hate it when I hear politicians in the left yelling about, you know, racism in the military. I'm gonna tell you what, my military that I was in, I didn't see that. I just never saw that, man. My brothers are Black, Asian, Hispanic, you know, and we never treat each other differently, man, ever. You know, it's like it didn't matter.
Everybody's green.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
And so, we have that experience, right? And we know that, hey, man, we're not better than anybody else, you know. And so we have this experience, we have this culture that we've been immersed to, we have these friendships, these camaraderies, we have these experiences that have put us light years ahead of the civilian culture. And sometimes it is hard for us to adapt. It's like a lot of guys can't adapt, right? And they come right back to the military, or start getting in trouble. They can't find a job because, you know, they can't work for these people, because it's not the same as the military. And this is where you've got to become a chameleon. You've got to learn how to adapt. Doesn't mean you have to change who you are. You just got to figure out, how can I blend in?
That's right.
Get what I need out of this thing, right?
That's right.
And that's what I've successfully done. Not everybody can do that. It's not hard. You just got to think about it and do it, you know?
Dale, our time is about up. I really appreciate you coming and speaking with me today. It's been a hell of a conversation, and I can't wait to meet you in person. I invite you to Medellin, Colombia. We'll have a we'll have a pickup for you, a nice party. Bring the wife, kids, whoever, and we'll be here. Um, but yeah, I just want to thank you again. Really respect you, everything you've done. You've lived lives, a life that most people don't see in three or four of them. So I really appreciate everything you do, and call me anytime, and I'll call you, and let's keep in touch.
Sure, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thanks
All
for having
right,
me.
I salute you, my friend.
All right, be safe down there.